Joe, you get to work in a really cool but slightly unsexy and misunderstood space.
Joe Wood is a certified public accountant and the creator of Satoshi Patrol,
an open source project bringing professional accounting to the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Tell me a little bit about the business and what you're up to.
We primarily focus on accounting for Bitcoin businesses. There's more and more Bitcoiners out there that run small businesses that either want to put it on their balance sheet. I'm a Bitcoiner, you're a Bitcoiner, let's work together.
Financial Accounting Standard Board changed how you actually put Bitcoin on the books.
Prior to 2024, accountants for some reason decided to treat Bitcoin as an intangible asset, which means if you bought Bitcoin at 50,000 and it went down to 25,000, you would always hold that Bitcoin on your books at 25,000. The number go up helps with that as well. If you're trying to talk to people about Bitcoin after it crashed 80%, they're gonna be like, get out of here. Versus, hey, it's going up at 15 years later. They're gonna be like, maybe that guy's not crazy anymore, right? If we're using Bitcoin in 500 years, we will have done something right.
What's up, everyone? I'm here with my friend Joe Wood, who runs one of the only companies that serves the companies that I spend my day job doing, which is the finance department. So, Joe, you get to work in a really cool but slightly unsexy and misunderstood space. So, tell me a little bit about the business and what you're up to.
Yeah, so we primarily focus on accounting for Bitcoin businesses, right? Which is a very small subset.
But getting bigger.
But yes, and that's really the key that we kind of see, right? Of hey, there's more and more Bitcoiners out there that run small businesses that are going to either want to put it on their balance sheet, have expertise on it. And so being in place there where it wasn't what I was thinking 3 years ago, but very much now where you'll come to this conference and there's 30,000 people. There's probably at least 3,000 or 4,000 of them that have small businesses, right? I wouldn't be surprised by that. So being there, being not even the expertise in the area, but someone that kind of speaks the same language of Bitcoin. And then we also just see on the tax side, every Bitcoiner who holds Bitcoin's I need an accountant that understands Bitcoin. It's not going to look at me weird when I show them my sales or whatever it is. So that's kind of the business. That's kind of what we've been growing.
The business name is Satoshi Patrol.
Satoshi Patrol, yeah. Yep. So Satoshi, obviously everyone in this small world knows Satoshi Nakamoto, creator of Bitcoin. And then pretty much no one knows Luca Pacioli, who created essentially modern bookkeeping and accounting. So we put that together.
Two legends. And either side might know one of them.
Yeah. Either, potentially.
Yeah.
500 years apart. So kind of amazing, right?
That is kind of amazing. Double entry bookkeeping was one big innovation.
Yes.
Decentralized ledgers a totally other invention.
And I always tell people, if we're using Bitcoin in 500 years, we will have done something right.
Oh, I like that. That's a good clip. Yeah. We're using Bitcoin in 500 years, we did something right. Yeah, I think that's right.
That should be the goal.
Fair goal. So you implied something here, which is there's two sets of companies. One type of company is someone who's maybe a Bitcoin native company, right? And they're trying to figure out how do they put this on their books.
Yes.
And then there's another kind of company that's a not Bitcoin native company, but maybe they're a traditional company that does small business, I don't know, manufacturing or whatever, distribution or all kinds of things, right? Building real stuff. And then somebody orange pilled them and they said, hey, we want to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet and do treasury, right? So how do you think about those two constituents? Because they're coming from different angles into the space, but both need to figure out how Bitcoin works on the books.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we really started kind of on that first one, right?
Yeah.
Where it was you go to Bitcoin conferences, even smaller Bitcoin conferences at the Miss, right? If you'd run into the people that were building product and services in the space.
Yep.
And so those people, they don't need the Bitcoin expertise as much.
Yep.
Because they may be building the software and wallets and tools and everything, right? So they might already be experts on the Bitcoin side. And so we're really we're handling the accounting side that they're just not going to want to get into. And they want someone kind of comfortable and familiar with when they talk about, here's my wallet, here's all the transactions. We're not asking a million questions, right? So that's kind of the Bitcoin native part, kind of hey, we're definitely going to accept Bitcoin, use Bitcoin, receive Bitcoin for investment whenever possible.
Yeah.
And then the second side there, which can really be growth industry, more industry to hey, I've had this restaurant forever. I'm a plumber. I've done plumbing for 20 years. In the last couple of years, I really learned about Bitcoin. I've invested a ton personally, and now I'm thinking, how do I integrate it into my business, right?
Yeah.
And those people, I think, like, as we have more expertise on our team, like, there are more services that we provide there of like, hey, do you need about all the tools that are out there?
Yeah.
Do you need help with treasury management? Do you need help with obviously the accounting side of like, hey, I want to pay contractors and how do I do like realized gains or losses? And so like the value that we can add to those types of clients is just, I think 10x kind of where we started at with like, hey, I'm a Bitcoiner, you're a Bitcoiner, let's work together.
Yeah,
Right?
fair. Well, the ecosystem is actually broader of companies that are building goods and services and now are like joining the Bitcoin ecosystem. And so like, maybe let's talk a little bit about how the accounting works, right? Because just because you join Bitcoin and you might be holding as a company Bitcoin, or you might be earning it, or you might be, using it, you still probably need to run traditional financial books.
Yes.
Double entry bookkeeping.
Yes.
So maybe you're using a NetSuite or QuickBooks or Sage or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how do they put Bitcoin? They talk a lot about Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Yes.
But how does Bitcoin go on the books?
Yeah, so unfortunately right now, a lot of that is like most of our clients are on QuickBooks.
Yep.
Same for really any system right now.
Yep.
It's, hey, there is the US dollars that's what I'm tracking, that's what my ledger's in, and that's what you have for tax reporting, financial reporting.
Yep.
And then I had to track all my Bitcoin separately, right?
Yep.
And so there are like, one of the things that we're trying to kind of tackle as an industry is like, how do we easily get that Bitcoin information into QuickBooks?
Yes.
Which is like step one. But then it's also, all right, once it's in QuickBooks, am I just doing manual entries every month to account for unrealized gains or losses, realized gains or losses? Because I don't think we can really rely on QuickBooks or any other system to build that in, at least today, right? Maybe in 5 years they'll be there. Yeah. But even like, 30,000 people here, like that's not going to move the needle for QuickBooks changing the way their system is set up.
Yeah, and it's not obvious that those systems needed some way to actually record. In our world with Oracle and Sage and Microsoft, like you have to have really specific ways that you record, Bitcoin. And there's really specific things that you need, an accountant, an auditor, an external firm. So we had to learn that, as we brought in auditors.
I mean, I remember the first time Michael Saylor was talking about the, like, holding the Bitcoin and never spending it. And he was just like, if I tried to give this to my accounting team, they'd have to rework our whole system.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But eventually you will get to the point where like you're big enough, you're using it enough where like people, if you're using Oracle stuff and where it's like customized anyways, like companies that are actually using it practically every day will build that into their own system. That's right.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they're solved to sell stuff eventually.
Exactly. So I guess maybe like one thing that's massively changed, to kind of wrap is, the Financial Accounting Standard Board like changed how you actually put Bitcoin on the books.
Yeah.
So like maybe for folks that don't know that change, that was a big change, especially for larger companies, everyone, but especially larger companies. So like what happened there?
Yeah.
And what did that mean for the industry for companies that like have Bitcoin on the books and Bitcoin native?
Yeah. So like anyone who's like adopting Bitcoin from today forward, you probably could ignore this part, but like the history behind it is very much prior to 2024 last year, Bitcoin or accountants for some reason decided to treat Bitcoin as an intangible asset, which just on the surface sounds fine, but from an accounting standpoint, what an intangible asset means is essentially you could only ever write it down and you can't write it back up. And so that means if you bought Bitcoin at 50,000 and it went down to 25,000, you would always hold that Bitcoin on your books at 25,000. Without getting into intangible assets, like that actually makes sense for what they use intangible assets for, but it clearly doesn't work for Bitcoin.
Right.
And so finally there was enough pressure, enough people using Bitcoin, adopting Bitcoin, and we're like, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so, they spent some time on, they're like, clearly They should be treated at fair value. And so now, just like any other investment you hold, when you're reporting your financial from quarterly, annual, monthly basis, that Bitcoin will be treated at the fair value at the end of the month,
Right.
which is a much more accurate representation. It's unfortunate it took so long for us to get there, but finally, like, it's clearly the right position for how to treat Bitcoin.
So that means a company now marks to market and updates on a regular basis.
So whatever your Bitcoin was worth at the end of the month, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, value. Huge change. So, okay, so I mean, I could ask you all kinds of super fun things, you know, since I service finance groups all day long. But like, if a finance person like you spent their career in accounting and, you know, the office of the CFO and becomes a Bitcoiner for the first time and they're starting to talk about it with their company, like, what's the first thing you just tell them as they kind of enter down the rabbit hole?
That's a great question. Because honestly, like, I don't know I have a great answer to that. Because, like, when I last worked at a company, like 4 years ago, before I started this, like, I still wasn't ready to have that conversation with people. But I think that landscape has changed drastically. So, like, I have a friend who, you know, used to actually be my boss, and he's got, like, a group of, like, 20 or 30 controllers.
Yes.
And they're having like a meetup, industry thing. And one of the things that they're trying to do is bring a Bitcoiner on to speak about Bitcoin to them. And so, like, I think it's stuff like that where it's like, he's probably the most interested hardcore out of 30 people. But if he can bring someone that can really speak to Bitcoin well to that group, still maybe, 25 of them are like, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. But, 5 of them, right? It's 5X. And so, like, I think it is meeting people where they're at, understanding that, like, especially professionals, especially, like, I think accountants and especially, like, finance professionals, they're like, I've done this my whole career. I know what money is. I've got to where I'm at because I'm successful and smart. And then telling them that, like, actually, you kind of need to rethink the way you think about some things is a tough path. So you kind of have to be gentle with them a little bit. But so I think it is usually you learn about it individually, and then you try to bring that into like your personal business life. And the more you learn about it, the more comfortable you feel about that. But I think number go up helps with that as well, right? Of like, if you're trying to talk to people about Bitcoin after it crashed 80%, they'll be like, get out of here. Yeah. Versus, hey, it's going up at 15 years later. They'll be like, maybe that guy's not crazy anymore, right? So, yeah, I think we're still very early there, but I think as number goes up, as adoption goes up, more and more people will be willing to have those conversations.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, finance professionals, like you said, it's been an industry for 500 plus years.
Yeah.
Double entry accounting, I should know this, but it's been invented maybe 1,500 years ago. I probably am failing in my accounting class right now.
Around that same time, so around that 500 year.
Oh, the 500 year mark. Okay. So, like, the goal is I think finance and accountants see the utility of it, and they see what it means as an asset, and they can see how it works in their professional careers. It certainly is, I think a big emerging opportunity. We're at the tip of the spear. So, and
I think we're very close to getting that flipped. Like, I think if you look at like the CFA, CFP side, they're getting very close to the point. Maybe in another year or two where they're still don't know anything about it, or they're speaking negatively towards it. Yeah. They're going to get some big backlash on that. Accountants are a little different in that they're not advising people in the same way of like, here's where you put your money. Right. But similarly, like, if there's a whole bunch of companies that have Bitcoin and you're just like, I don't know anything about that, like, you're not, employable or better.
That's right. So I think the message there is it's certainly the future. Yeah. And, I think the smart professionals are getting there early. Yeah. The smart companies are getting there early. So, and we'll see where it's at in 500 years. Right. Yeah. So where do, as we wrap, Joe, like, hey, just it's cool to catch up, man. Yeah. I love what you guys are doing. Where do people find you, if they need help with accounting services?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, best place is our website, SatoshiPatrol.com. It's a little hard to spell, but, it's Satoshi, which everyone knows, and then Patroli, Pacioli. And then we're on Twitter, so easy to find us there. We just started a Substack. Okay. So You'll be able to find that on our Twitter, on our website. We're trying to get more and more content out there for people. So like, if you're just like, hey, this sounds interesting, I might want to learn more about it, we're going to try to get more and more good content on our Substack.
I love it. There's not a lot of content for accountants.
Exactly.
You know,
how do I
so I love it. All right.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for being here. All right, bud.